Hey everybody, Josh here. It's in a World Alternative Media here, and of course I am here in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Um, Another day in paradise, I guess you could say, but also there are some serious problems here, which I will get into shortly. And while the National Guard is often driving around places like Puerto Vallarta or Acapulco or wherever you might go in Mexico, there's a lot more of them than usual, and they have been deployed to a lot of the tourist areas, and they've actually been told to try and get tourists to leave or go inside their homes and not walk around outside. Obviously, in Oaxaca, they have completely told tourists to go home. They basically said, get out of our province, get out of our cities, and leave. And they've banned a lot of the Airbnb action out there. I'm going to walk outside here onto the balcony. And it is quite alarming to say the least, because they've also got a lot of government vehicles driving around here with blasting propaganda songs telling people to go inside, go inside, go inside, they say. It's a very strange state of affairs right now, but the National Guard, look, they extended the emergency notice in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico here, around, I think it was about 2 days ago at nighttime. They decided to extend the emergency notice to April 30th. However, people aren't listening anyway. People don't listen to government here. So while people say that Mexico has a big government, and it's true, people don't listen to it. So that's a difference. And now I got one comment here that's incorrect. It's from Steven. Says, you have rights in America, not there. I have rights wherever I say I have rights. Rights aren't given by statehood or by government. Rights are something that you emulate yourself. By the way, hit that like button if you haven't already. Helps with the algorithm, and send in those super chats and questions. I'm happy to answer anything right now. And obviously check those links below for many options. But anyway, so here's the issue. Yesterday I'm walking around, I see the National Guard out. They're driving around with machine guns, waving at kids, happy-go-lucky, all that kind of stuff. The fact of the matter is most people aren't listening to government here, which is a good thing. And it's actually, there's more freedom on display here than in the United States. However, obviously, people, stick by, the Constitution says in the United States we have these rights. Yeah, but in Mexico, they're like, oh, well, we don't really need a piece of paper to tell us that. We just have these rights, and if the government tries to take them, we flip off the government. For example, I'll give you an example that I've mentioned a few times in past videos. They banned the sale of alcohol to groups over 50 capacity, and essentially what happened was, they said you can serve alcohol with food, but you can't by itself. So restaurants started giving you apple slices at the door, so that you kind of get around this law. I mean, that's one of the cool things about this place is people are like, yeah, well, never mind. The government says that, but it's like they're telling people to stay inside. Basically, everyone's here is outside. Don't mind my asthma. I do not have corona. Key Harder says, darn right, you make your rights. Nobody has a say. Yeah, I mean, it's not an issue of what government you live in. There's places that crack down on freedoms more. I got to be careful because there's a Vallarta government vehicle right there, and they might blast copyrighted music telling people to go inside. No one's listening to them. Everyone just laughs at them. Many Mexicans just start dancing when these vehicles go by. They have a big boom box in the back, and they blast music that just sings, stay in your home, stay in your home. And people just roll their eyes and shake their heads. The weather here is perfect for not allowing a long incubation period or allowing diseases to spread as easily here in Puerto Vallarta. I would say Puerto Vallarta is probably the most free place in the world at this moment, other than maybe Belarus. But at the moment, with laws in effect, people aren't listening. The big problem that's affected Puerto Vallarta is actually tourists being forced to go home by governments around the world, and like the Canadian government saying, if you don't go home now, you lose your health insurance that you already paid for. So obviously, a lot of people freaked out. They watched too much television. They ran home to their concentration camps, and then in the United States, they made similar notices a couple days ago saying that you won't even be able to fly into the United States if you don't go immediately. As a Canadian, I'm not even allowed to go back to the United States. I left my home my vehicle, everything behind. I can't even go to my home. So I don't know how many months that'll last. Some are saying as long as 2 years. I'm not sure about 2 years, but it's definitely probably going to last for a while. If you haven't already, hit that like button on this video and make sure to check the links below and send in those super chats. It's the only thing that keeps us alive here at WAM. I will be going on Rethinking the Dollar in about an hour for a live interview, so you guys can go on YouTube to Rethinking the Dollar and check that out. I'm looking forward to that. Mike's a great guy. El Mo Core says, thanks, Josh, for telling the truth about the situation and the reality in Mexico. People in Mexico will die for your freedom because we hate police, so just remember to ask for help and enjoy the beach. I agree. Almost like every single person I talk to in Mexico, waiters, bartenders, store clerks, anyone at the pharmacy, like literally everyone, says this is a giant conspiracy to enslave humanity. Like everyone, young and old. Except for, like, I think maybe 2 people I've bumped into are like, oh, the television says. But otherwise, like, everyone else is like, this is stupid. And it's like the police will tell you stay inside, and everyone will go, well, here's a 20 peso bill. Here's a 20 peso bill. Go screw yourself. See you later. And I think that's exactly what will happen. My apologies for the noise. I'm in front of a busy road at the moment. But I got to be careful with my internet so it doesn't cut out. Chad Meyer says, get ready for the reversal, though. Looks like they're going to lock down to manage the fear. Well, there's definitely lockdowns all over Mexico. And in the Jalisco province, they've been really good about it, but at the same time, they've been still probably more fear-mongering and virtue signaling than other governments around Mexico, other than Oaxaca, which basically just cracked down on Airbnb and is creating a huge housing bubble. And with all the jobs gone, that's the number one thing I'm worried about. It's going to be a mess down the road, and it's already a mess. People have lost their jobs left and right here. That is the biggest issue. And that's the biggest issue worldwide, other than, government infringement of free will and complete destruction of individual liberties everywhere you go. Nick H says, lol, gotta love the Mexicans. Yeah, absolutely. Phil H says, it's all fake. Canada is fear-mongering the masses. Well, Canada's talking about 50% extra taxes at the moment. And talking about Chinese-style communist control, which makes perfect sense since Trudeau said that he respected China's basic dictatorship, as he said during the election in 2015, I believe. It's amazing that everyone looked the other way on that. And it goes into the report I did the other day. I really hope everyone goes on YouTube, goes on the World Alternative Media channel, goes to the video tab, and sees our Chinese global takeover video, because that video, I think, is very important and is a major puzzle piece to what is happening currently in the world and what the end game is of this insanity that we're witnessing right now. Let's see. Tana Borikin says that they do watch you if you are an outsider, you just don't know it. Oh, people are watching me. The cops tried to arrest me about a week ago for walking at night, and I just started laughing at them, and I flipped them off, and I told them to go F themselves. And they're like looking at my wallet. I'm like, no, I only bribe when I'm in trouble. I don't, noche lento? They say, sí. Said, well, too bad for you. Give me my stuff back and leave me alone. And if I did that in the U.S., I would have been thrown in jail. It just shows there's definitely a huge difference between countries. Chad Meyer says, not global warming, nothing is black and white. I don't know who you're replying to there. Jim Hayden says, a 50% tax increase upon the ruling banking elite. I just think government should stop stealing money. And I think the banks should stop printing money. And yeah, that's basically it, I think we need to stop thinking in we's, in collectives. We should help one another come together and unify in one way or another to defeat this beast of statism that we're walking right into right now. But we don't need to have a collectivist order dictating that. I think it's just sad to see how many even freedom fighters are going, you know what, I think I'm gonna go along with narrative and bend the knee, because this is for the greater good of the greater number, public order, and whatever it might be. And it's really frustrating and pathetic, really. Anyway, if you haven't already, hit the like button on this video. Check those links below. Key Harder says, who should we look to for the end game? Well, I believe 100% the end game is that the Chinese are creating a global government system, and this has been happening for a long time. I believe this goes back decades and decades. Henry Kissinger meeting with Mao Zedong, creation of an alliance with China that led into a trade monopoly, and then the Trilateral Commission under Zbigniew Brzezinski during the Jimmy Carter administration, leading into technocratic state as Zbigniew Brzezinski said he wanted. Then it turned into even bigger problem later on as that trade monopoly became more enforced, and Chinese people lost their freedoms in mass. The communist order got even bigger. Well, it became more of a fascio-communist puppet state. And then what happens next is you have smart city grids, you have social credit on the ground where you can't, you have facial recognition tied into it. You walk somewhere, you jaywalk, and they send a ticket to your phone and shame you on a billboard. Police have facial recognition goggles on that can spot your social credit score. They can stop you from eating in restaurants, they can stop you from getting a job, they can stop you from buying a house, they can stop you from leaving the country. And now they're installing that all over the world via a cashless system that's technocratic and based in centralized powers by the central banking system and the banking system and elite themselves. And now China props himself up as, well, they look like they're collapsing, right? Oh, well, we have a huge problem with coronavirus, which we spread. Everything starts collapsing. You know, CIA Chinese spread this weaponized virus that had been created in a lab back in 2015 in the Netherlands, shipped over to Winnipeg, Canada, and then one sample got lost and shows up in Wuhan, China. So China looks like it's collapsing. The U.S. looks better, and then suddenly it spreads to the U.S. More people in the U.S. get it. China says that they cured it, even though millions of phone numbers are getting cut off and people are disappearing en masse. And they're undercutting their numbers while the U.S. is exaggerating the numbers. And then they say we need a cashless society and a new world order to fix this. And China comes in as a powerhouse, the only one where people are back at work working right now, despite everything. And there comes a Chinese dictatorship, the global order based on China and technocracy. Big shout out to John Stramitis, who sent $10 in the super chat, says, here's some U.S. Treasury pesos, bro. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate that. It goes a long way. By the way, guys, like, again, those super chats are literally making it possible for me to eat here. So thank you so much for that. It means a great deal to me. It really does. And I mean, I left my home. I left everything back in the United States. I am not even allowed in the United States right now. But what's interesting is that I have, a house, a vehicle, and everything left behind. And I just came here with just my clothes and a backpack and my camera and my phone and my laptops. And that's it. And I have a lot more than 99% of the world, and I'm grateful. Elmo Course says, Puerto Vallarta is awesome. Sayulita Beach and all around it's beautiful. If you want to join a road trip to isolated beaches with clean water and no police or fear, just let me know. Well, thank you very much. Are you around Elmo Corps? Anywhere in the area? The problem with Mexico is that it takes like 10 million hours to drive like 200 miles. It's just crazy. Anyway, Zaki Chowdhury says the Angels will sing on that day for real. Yeah. My dad sent Canadian $6.99 in the super chat, says, have a few rum, son. Have a great interview later. Thank you. Yeah, I am on, so loud. I am on Rethinking the Dollar with Mike in about an hour time on his YouTube channel. So tune in live for that later on. I'm looking forward to joining him as always. Hit that like button if you haven't already on this video. Let's bounce above 100 likes on this video. I got to be careful about the copyrighted music on the vehicles driving by. They could literally take down my YouTube channel for that. As if people are more willing to listen to background, loud, distorted noise of 3 seconds of a song rather than buy the album. I mean, like, intellectual property is so ridiculous with the, with the artificial intelligence that they have now. Rob CR8 or Create says, great analysis. What is the kickback? Well, I think that there is some hope for people evolving, not revolting. You know, I believe that it's about evolution, not revolution, building new things to replace the old guard system. But it's just that I told people to prepare for years. That was the number one thing to stop this order. And people didn't listen. And now we have a situation where it's like they're stopping people from buying lots from the store. They're beating people in the streets of Spain for going outside. And to me, it's like we're almost past the point of education and more into the realm of What are we doing? It's time to take action now. And people are still saying, oh, fear-mongering. Imagine that. People saying fear-mongering when you're in the midst of the global order, when you're in the midst of this insanity, still going, oh, well, you guys are fear-mongering. I mean, at what point do people go, huh, this is insane. Maybe we should start paying closer attention and take this more seriously when there's a communist order taking over property, saying they'll pay the rent, which sounds great, but they're just taking over homes. They are printing trillions of dollars, creating inflation, centralizing everything to death, calling for a cashless society and a cashless order, at the same time as creating or forcing vaccinations all over the place, not allowing people to go outside with threat of 1 year in prison in places like Virginia, where they're pushing gun legislation, and Maryland, where they push red flag legislation. No one's allowed to protest, no one's allowed to do anything, but everyone goes, oh yes, please government, save me from myself because I might catch coronavirus, which you guys spread in the first place. It's like, if we're in that position and people are still going, oh, well, it's not a big deal. The economy is completely collapsing. The stock market's completely collapsing. This is like already looking to be at least 5 to 10 times even worse than the Great Depression and on a global scale. And people are still saying that's fear-mongering. Like, imagine the subservience and slavery that we're dealing with then. That's really, really sad. And that's one of the things that really worries me. John Stramita says, you run a great channel, Josh. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Vishnu Nath says, Joshy, you safe. I am, and you are definitely not Vishnu. Thank you. ZP Zap sent $7.77 in the super chat. Thank you so much. Says, buenos suerte a todos. Good luck to all. Thank you. I appreciate it. All is well. The National Guard was deployed, as I mentioned in my title and in the thumbnail. I showed it at the beginning of the video. But the National Guard is being deployed basically everywhere. And in the U.S., the National Guard is doing door-to-door checks and demanding answers and seizing guns in some places is what I'm hearing. So it's honestly much more free here. It's just they are enforcing emergency notices, and they might tell people to stay in their homes soon and not leave by force. And people are just going to do it anyway. Unlike the U.S., you probably won't go to jail for 1 year for it or have to pay $2,500 to $5,000 for it. So that, I think, is the number one difference. Lois G. Todd says, how many cases in Mexico? Not a lot. It just broke 1,000 with 28 dead out of 1,000. And most of them were on cruise ships. Most of them were tourists that weren't actually Mexican. If you look at kids here in Mexico, they swim in swamps in mud with like garbage and dogs crapping next to them. And they grow up with insane immune systems, and their stomach can handle a lot more, which anyone who's been to Mexico that isn't from Mexico will account for. And I honestly think that things are going to go really well here, generally speaking, though it's the third week of the real trouble that's about to kick in here, and that's when we really find out how big it will get. Obviously, many more people will get it, many more people will die, and it's a sad, terrible, tragic thing. But we also have to remember the biggest virus of all, which is the government, and people don't listen to the government here. And the heat out here is really good for killing germs. My dad says, super chatters, thank you for helping my son eat. Appreciate it. Jim Hayden says, Josh, this is a fine mess you got yourself in on lockdown in Puerto Vallarta. Well, it's not really lockdown. I mean, here, there's some chiquitas down there walking around. They seem pretty cool. They're not too worried. It's fine. Seriously, this is a fine situation to be in. I'm not concerned about it. Sorry, I'm just scrolling down some of these comments here. Con sent Australian $7.99. Says cheers. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for those super chats, guys. Again, it goes a long way here at WAM. And hitting that like button helps too for anyone who hasn't already, and sharing it on social media so we're not shadow banned, and checking those links below. But seriously, the super chats go a huge, long way. As far as helping us keep this operation alive in an age of the most notoriously terrible and just disgusting propaganda we've ever seen in the history of humanity. VJ Tsunomic says downtown Vancouver is being barricaded. I know, it's absolutely insane, and the housing bubble is going to go insanely bad down the line here when we have Airbnbs, hosts that own, like super hosts that own 20 to even 60 properties, and no one's using them, and many places are being banned, and they can't print enough money. So basically, these people are running out of cash, and once that happens, they can't pay their mortgages, and once that happens, the housing bubble completely collapses. So that, I think, we have to look out for as well, which I did a report on with Tim Pichotte and Kingsley Edwards yesterday on our live stream show. Chad Myers sent $4.99 in the super chat. Says it's prepping time, food gone, and the dollar is crashing. Geomagnetic reversal is closer. Expected and angry catfish breaks big pick and easy to understand. Thank you again for that super chat. That's awesome, man. You're always helping us out a lot here at WHAM, and I truly appreciate it. It doesn't go unappreciated, 100%. It's keeping us alive. Here's the thing. Also, a lot of people are talking about Yellowstone right now and saying that the super volcano is about to go off. I don't think we should be focusing on things we can't change right now. An earthquake happened yesterday, but it was 330 miles away from, it was a 6.5 magnitude earthquake. It was 330 miles away from Yellowstone, and people are misrepresenting it as an earthquake at Yellowstone. I think we have enough fear in the world right now. Right now we need to take action. This is serious. We should all be really concerned. This is insanity. I think every single one of us can agree that this is pure insanity on a historic scale. But with that said, we need to consider what we are going to actually do about it on the ground. Are we going to stay in our house like subservient slaves? Sometimes the government has said a few times that it's going to be 2 years. Are we going to do that? Are we really that much of a slave that we're going to do that? Again, more people that don't seem to worry at all. See? It's fine. People are chill. Lots of cars, as you could hear in the background. Tana Borican sent $10 in the super chat, said thank you so much to you, seriously. Really appreciate those super chats, guys. It means a lot to me. Hitting that like button helps a lot too. Jim Hayden says, listen, you Canucks, you are responsible for the welfare of Josh in Mexico. I'm not, look, I appreciate the help. I'm not asking for any welfare, and honestly, I'm fine down here. My issue is that when more jobs are lost, how people are going to react to it, like anywhere else in the world. Because we're looking at perhaps 2 billion jobs in the world getting wiped out through this crisis, out of 7 billion people. I believe that that's a possibility, and I'm really concerned about it. BD says, I think it's rude that you hate on Luke all the time, just so you know. We're joking. We're friends. It's obviously a joke. High Impact Vlogs sent $10 in the super chat, says, keep doing what you're doing. We need more voices like yours. Well, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate that help. High Impact Vlogs. I'm guessing you got a channel there. I've heard of you before. I don't know if it's on here or somewhere else, but anyway, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And again, all that, like $10 literally pays for 2 people's full dinners out here. It's very cheap. And that's like, you can get it much cheaper than that, really. It means a lot to me, guys. Thank you. Quad Q says, yeah, I've had it and fine, but I doubt my 89-year-old parents will be. Yeah, no, it's a very big problem for old people, overweight people, people with asthma or lung diseases, and people with autoimmune diseases. No doubt about it. I don't dispute that. It's a weaponized illness. It's not about whether it's bad or not. It's about who benefits and why this is happening now. And if you look at my Chinese global takeover video, I think you'll see a lot of the puzzle pieces come together. Arbor Borealis Bear says, can you buy land there? I'm sure I can. I'm not interested in doing that right now. I don't even have money. Seriously, I'm paying $330 a month for this place, which is super cheap, and bills included, furnishings included, and everything. But it's not something I'm not looking to spend money right now. That's for sure. I'm trying to get out of my house in Las Vegas, which I'm not even allowed to go into the United States right now. And they're still trying to make me pay rent. My landlords have been cool about it, but it's all going to become a deficit later on. So I'm trying to get someone to sublet my house in Las Vegas, which is difficult because they're also saying that in some cases it's illegal to show people homes right now. So like, oh my God. Jim Hayden says, Josh, what is your PayPal address? I don't like giving 30% to Google. I totally understand that. You can tip on Subscribestar, which is linked below. You don't have to do monthly things. You can tip on Subscribestar. The reason I say that is it's my dad's email, which is my PayPal, so I don't want to put that out because he might get a whole bunch of emails unless he says below that it's okay. But I got banned from PayPal for a Bitcoin transaction years ago, and then they tried to extort me for all my money and then put me in negative $2,000 and told me to give them $2,000, which I wasn't going to do. So I'm banned from PayPal now. I understand that there's a lot of ways below in the links below for you to pledge, to donate, and tip, and I really appreciate that. I really do. I mean, my PayPal, I'll let you know soon. You can also, if you're in Canada, send Interact payments to worldalternativemedia@gmail.com, worldalternativemedia@gmail.com. And I can access the money straight to a bank account and pay off cards from there, which is really appreciated because I'm maxed out like crazy right now. Oh my God. Coco Bongo says, I work 12 hours in the sun today, going to the beach tomorrow. That's awesome. Where are you? Because most places are not allowing that, that's for sure. My dad says, okay by me. Okay, so you can send a PayPal to ziggy33@mail.com. If you can write that, look at Rob Sigurdson's comment on it. If you can write that in text in the chat box, so they can copy that down properly, I appreciate that. Thank you. You can send PayPal to that address. It's basically the only option right now as far as PayPal goes because, again, I'm banned from PayPal. I can't even do that. Coco Bongo says, an hour out of Vancouver, BC. Wow, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I need to access the time so I know I'm not going to be late for this interview. I think I'm good for now. Going to be on Rethinking the Dollar shortly. Mike's channel. There's the email, by the way, in the chat that you guys can access to send PayPal. I'm going to be on Rethinking the Dollar at 3 p.m. Eastern. So you guys can tune into his YouTube channel for that. Subscribe to him if you haven't already. Daver5150 says, Idaho earthquake was 10 kilometers deep. We have been told the DUMBs are 10 kilometers down. Yeah, the earthquake was massive. It was definitely historic. I don't think we had seen anything like it since 1981 in that area. But with that said, Earth is volatile. It always has been. I'm in a very big earthquake zone. In fact, there's a church down the street from me called the Parish of Our Lady of Guadalupe, which is an amazing church. I posted on Instagram, on World Alternative Media on Instagram, a photo that I took of it. It's an amazing place, but there's a giant crown on top of the building, and in the 90s, an earthquake shook it off, and the whole crown fell. And it's like a 3-story tall, gigantic crown on top of the tower, so it's pretty insane. But look, I mean, the Earth has always been volatile. The difference is we can't really change earthquakes. We can change our own freedoms and the catastrophe of the state and statism. We can change that as individuals. We can take responsibility over our lives. We can be responsible. We can, change different weather events and stuff like that, and the government certainly does, and not in our favor. But we can also, look at the asteroids. We go through the Taurid meteor stream twice a year. That's a major issue that we deal with. That's something we could probably change if we stop focusing on murdering each other and spent more time on trying to avoid a cataclysm like we've seen so many times before. Says, hit the like button and check those links below. I really appreciate you guys sharing on social media, sending in those super chats. It means a lot to me, and it goes a long way here at WHAM. I will be going on Rethinking the Dollar soon, so I'm not going to be able to stay on super long. But anyway, I am here in Puerto Vallarta. They did deploy the National Guard like they have in most countries in the world. The National Guard is usually driving around here in Mexico, but they've deployed more than usual, and they're putting them in tourist areas. And the big issue right now is that, they are starting to harass people to an extent, and I've seen that for myself, harassing business owners and stuff like that. But people don't listen to them here. That's a difference. People don't listen to the government here. People resist the state and are free human beings. For the most part, most people don't watch so much television that they get indoctrinated. People go outside, they see things, they talk to people. They're very conspiracy theory oriented here as well. Almost every waiter, doctor, pharmacist, business owner in the world and create a global order of some kind. This is all falsified, weaponized in order to enslave us. I'm like, smart people, aren't they? You don't see that too much in the United States, unfortunately. Anyway, send in your questions if you haven't already. Rika the Hopeful Voluntarist says, well said, statism is a catastrophe. Hey Josh, enforcing it now. Yeah, in Canada and in the US. I can't tell if that's a bird up there or a drone. I've been hearing a lot. That's the ocean, by the way, in the background. It's beautiful. I've been hearing a lot about drones around the United States, especially in California today. Almost all my Facebook friends there have seen it. Same with New York. And they're like, some of them works helping out natives in Pekanjicum and can't get out of Manitoba. Yeah, I know. What we're seeing right now is unprecedented. We've never seen anything like it in history, and we need to take heed of the cautions and decentralization and privacy. Look, the part about defending yourself and having self-defense, you're not gathering things from the toughest guy on the block. I wish people listened. I mean, I wish people listened, but here we are. Most people were rushing stores. They ran out of groceries. People went insane. Talking about food, they're about 4 months too late on it. And most of the people don't have guns. So they are buying up guns en masse, and they are pushing for this new HR, this House resolution to put a 30% tax on guns and a 50% tax on ammunition right away, and ban people from touching guns without a license. That is coming up right away, and Hank Johnson has signed off on that one. But with that said, with red flag laws, they're banning people from going outside and even protesting the gun grabs in Virginia. This is not good, guys. This is not good, and people are late to the draw, and they end up unable to defend themselves. And when there's food wars, when there's inflation, when there's no one to feed anyone, because people are dependent on FEMA and actually think they're going to save them, then that's going to turn into one of the biggest catastrophes in human history, and we're going to have famines. We're going to have people breaking into homes trying to have food or trying to steal food to save their family. It's just an absolute mess. So I'm just really concerned for a lot of people going forward here. Briggs says, believe no one, question everything. Absolutely. Phil H says, Josh, about selling house in Ontario for off-grid cabin now or summer. I don't know. I wouldn't be holding on to a home right now, in my opinion. But it's good to be off-grid. Rastamon says, my dog and I are living in a cabin, walking around with a shotgun looking for grouse, waiting for snow to melt. See, that is the responsible way to do it, and the way that people lived for thousands of years. Most of human history, people lived like that, and only in the last little while have people actually started becoming more and more dependent, and you end up with a world of sheeple who are dependent on the government, where something like this happens and they beg the government to save them from something the government created in the first place, and that is how slavery works. Hard times create strong men create good times create weak men create hard times, in a circle for eternity. Anyway, Jonah Curry says, how's all the sheep? I don't know, there's a lot of them, but I can't speak for them. By the way, I got Quetzalcoatl shirt yesterday. I'm pretty psyched about it. It's like $5 for a Quetzalcoatl shirt. I needed some t-shirt action happening down here. By the way, if you haven't checked below already for the GoFundMe, Patreon, subscribe star, hitting that like button on this video, all those things help. Sharing on social media helps. We need to sell at least one more thing, even $1 more on our Teespring store, in order to actually be able to collect the money from it, because they froze the ability for me to take the money out until I make $1 more. So for like 3 months, I haven't been able to access my money on Teespring. It's very, very frustrating. So yeah, anyway. Zach Chowdhury says, maybe in a pear tree. Never gonna find a partridge. What are you guys talking about in the chat? What's going on? And that says, oops, I was supposed to buy something, right? Rastamon says, Josh, curious your opinion on gold, silver, Bitcoin. If people are getting laid off, etc., and currency is at risk, is it better to store fiat so you can use it for supplies or precious metals, or Bitcoin? Well, first of all, not investment advice. I don't give investment advice. I'm just speaking from my opinion. I have to say that legally. With that said, I think holding on to fiat is a terrible idea right now. Like, except for just what you need immediately to spend, they're printing it $1 trillion a day. The devaluing is just unbelievable at a historic rate. We're going to see Venezuela soon. So it's going to be worth less and less and less. Bitcoin is following the stock market right now, but as more printing is done and as we enter the halving, I think that'll change dramatically, and we're going to see a massive uptick. And I'd be surprised if by 2021 or during 2021 at some point we haven't hit $100,000 Bitcoin. But also factor in inflation, that could be $1 million Bitcoin. Gold and silver are just always a good idea for wealth insurance. They're not an investment. They're just basically preserve the wealth against falling dollar. Rick says Josh has tacos. I don't really eat tacos, not even Mexico. Anyway, I appreciate everyone joining us. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Check those links below. Help out any way you can. I'm going to get going because I have to be interviewed on Rethinking the Dollar right away. So I really appreciate you all. You guys can follow us over to Rethinking the Dollar on YouTube. And there you can, well, I don't know what I'm being interviewed on, but nonetheless, it's probably money related because it's Rethinking the Dollar. So go subscribe to Rethinking the Dollar. Mike is awesome. He does great work. It'll be a live show, 3 p.m. Eastern. Tune in, and I look forward to seeing a lot of you guys there in the chat as well. Thank you so much for those super chats. Thank you so much for everything. Roy Lowry just sent $10 in the super chat. I can't go without saying thank you so much, Roy. That's awesome. You are awesome, and you are saving lives here at World Alternative Media and ensuring that this information war is not lost. It's important now more than ever. So anyway, thank you so much, everyone. I very much appreciate it. Phil H says, Josh, thanks for the info. John Stramita says, thanks, Josh. Rasta Mon says, good luck and lots of hearts and keep your spirits up. And Tana Borikin says, hunkering down home is refuge. MSN failure to keep us informed and only want to put out lies. Refusing the CV-19 task force briefings. They only want you to think how they want you to think. Absolutely. Jason Waits says, see you soon if they'll let me through the border. LOL. I hope so. They're still allowing flights to Jalisco. They're just telling people not to do it. Buy a one-way ticket is a trick to it. If you have a round-trip ticket, they don't let people in, which is what I found out from other people around here. They'll probably do forced quarantining soon, but people aren't going to listen to it. Anyway, I appreciate everyone watching. Hit that like button if you haven't already, and I'll talk to you guys soon. I got to get going. Thanks for those super chats. Like button, all that. Anyway, until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.